All right, what is going on? Welcome back to the Optimistic Fan Club. Thank you so much for tuning in. Quick shout out to Eric Schoenauer, Andrew Novak, Jake Sedlak, Hunter Wilkes, Rebecca Funch, DJ Cafe Frog, and our newest boy, Gavin Watucky. Thank you guys for all of your support. Go support us over on Patreon. You give over $10 a month, you get your name read at the beginning of the show, and anything that you can do helps us keep it ad-free, sponsorship-free. And with that, let's get into it. So if you haven't heard, Juan Thornhill, Thornhill, the man himself, was cut by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Never want to cheer for the downfall of a person or a player who's not inherently bad or anything like that, but from a football perspective, and after kind of his clowning of Cleveland in general, it's a little bit exciting to see. But the bigger thing is that it reflects a glaring problem with our Cleveland Browns, and it highlights a strength of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it shows why they've really been relevant year in and year out, even if it's just 9-8, versus Cleveland, who has an up year, a down year, an up year, a down year, and a lot of down years previous to that, with very few up years, maybe 1 or 2 up years. Mike Tomlin comes out. Well, he doesn't really announce anything about it, but he was basically asked and essentially says, his play declined. And with him being that forthright about the situation and just coming right out and cutting a player who just wasn't meeting expectations, who I would assume probably wasn't showing enough effort, who just is not good enough to cut it for a team like that. Like, Juan Thornhill was never a physical player. Like, that's without a doubt. He's extremely athletic. He's fast. Doesn't really show those traits necessarily, but he's not like a Pittsburgh Steeler player. Like, he's not a Minkah Fitzpatrick. He's, no one's a Troy Polamalu, but he's not a Ryan Clark. He's not one of these dudes who are out there and they're banging and they're tough and everything that makes them them. So he gets cut. And it happens at what are we in, week 10? Something like that. Like, we're not even in December yet. He's getting cut post-trade deadline. And Cleveland kept this guy on the roster all season last year. Even after the jog moment in New Orleans. If you don't remember the New Orleans Saints game last year, I forget who it was. I don't know if it was Rashid Shaheed, whoever it was. They go out there. They had this long catch and run all the way down the sidelines. And with probably, if my memory serves me correct, about 35, 40 yards to go, Juan Thornhill gives up and stops chasing after him. When you love your team, you don't play the way that guys like Juan Thornhill played. Yes, he made some tackles here and there. That's in the job description, though. That is what you're supposed to do. What you're not supposed to do is just go for a stroll when you go underneath a block and take a bad angle and are just jogging behind the guy running the ball to the end zone while there are players who are from behind you, like Devin Bush, booking it, trying to make a play. And there was tons of questions after. He got blasted in the media, and he came out and he actually openly apologized, being like, and it was a little bit backhanded in the sense he was like, I play football with this guy in college or against him. Like, I know I'm not catching him, but yeah, I got to be better. That was the sentiment in all of this. But there shouldn't have been any opportunity for the following week for him to be asked and have to answer those questions, because he should have been cut immediately after that incident. That was a game where I made this video for our post-game recap where I said, I think that the Browns quit on Kevin Stefanski in this game. This game in New Orleans, I believe it was November 17th or 21st last year. I think that the Browns quit on Kevin Stefanski in that game, because those kind of efforts are so inexcusable, are so unbelievably inexcusable, that the only way to describe them is as a locker room quitting on a coach. So when that happened, that was Kevin Stefanski's opportunity. After All of the opportunities. In the video we put out yesterday, we talked about that, where we said that the Jed Wills situation, the Jadeveon Clowney situation, the Joe Woods coaching situation, what happened with Bubba Ventrone, all of these moments should have led to these players being cut or benched or something. But Kevin Stefanski just lets it go by. And those things, when you are in a locker room and you see a player not be coached and held to the same standard that even you hold yourself to, because it's clear that Stefanski isn't holding enough people to a high enough standard with what he is allowed to fester. What you internally hold yourself to, what Myles Garrett holds himself to, or what Nick Chubb held himself to, or Jarvis Landry, like all these people who have been in the organization who have been really great, high character people, when they see a fringe first string player come out there and show that kind of effort. I remember Devin Bush on that play sprints down and covers more ground than Juan Thornhill, a guy who ran like a 4.35 covered. You know what I'm thinking in that moment? I'm like, what is the point of all this? We're not fighting the same battle. We're not out there trying to win in the same way. I don't trust this guy next to me. How could I trust this guy next to me? I just saw him jog. And then the coach doesn't cut him. The coach doesn't bench him. The coach doesn't call him out by name in the post-game press conference saying, you know what, Juan Thornhill's effort on that play was inexcusable. When the media comes to you on Monday or Tuesday and you have to do your post-game press conference and they say, hey, Coach Stefanski, so a lot of people watching the game, a lot of fans saw that Juan Thornhill gave up on that play and started jogging. What do you have to say about that? Kevin Stefanski, the typical answer, I don't even remember that press conference, but it was probably something to the effect of, we all got to be better. And that's not the standard we hold ourselves to. We all got to be better. We got to figure out ways to make one play. It's never one player. It's never one play. No. It's called having standards. You, in that moment, as the head coach, need to say, Juan Thornhill's effort on that play was inexcusable and antithetical to the culture and level of standard and success that we expect from this roster. It is disrespectful to his teammates and to the game itself. It is unacceptable, and we will be dealing with that internally. That's the one option if you want to keep him. The other option is you never have to answer that question because you cut his ass on Monday. That sends a message. And then the media comes to you and says, hey, coach, we saw that you cut Juan Thornhill. Did it have anything to do with that play where he went out there and jogged? And then you say, yes, we hope the best for Juan, but that is just not what is acceptable on this football team. That sends a message. Firing Bubba Ventrone after that performance, after coaching that up and having those plays happen, and this is not in a vacuum whatsoever. Firing him after that sends a message that says this is unacceptable. What do you think Jim Schwartz is thinking when he watches Bubba Ventrone go out there and continue to run special teams in a way that allow these things to happen? What does Jim Schwartz think? What does that say to everyone underneath in the program? It does not send a good message. So this whole playing the nice guy thing, the whole not cutting Juan Thornhill, it just highlights where you are weak. And that is in leadership, in culture, and in standards. You look at Pittsburgh, again, regardless of what their season is, we would trade everything to switch places with Steelers fans. That is a fact. Don't lie to yourself. Don't let your hate for Pittsburgh blind you to what the truth is. And Mike Tomlin still will allowed a lot of crap to fester. The Antonio Brown situation, Le'Veon Bell. Apparently, I've heard people talk about how Ben Roethlisberger was and his effort and this and that. You're always going to have to deal with star players to a degree and allow certain things. That's just a fact. You know what? The truth is, maybe the best of the best of the best players of all time all have fantastic work ethic. Tom Brady, Jerry Rice, Walter Payton. Like there are these guys who you just never have to worry about. It's like a guy like Caleb Downs coming out of the draft this year. It's like he's a pro's pro. He's going to come out. He's going to be amazing. Emeka Ibuka coming out of OSU. It's like the guy's a pro's pro already at 21 years old. Those are the exception to the rule. The reality is you got to deal with guys like Jameson Williams, who has a PED thing, and then a gambling thing, if I'm not forgetting, and then Tyreek Hill, and then, like name any player on any team where there's great players who are a little off the rails sometimes, but if you can manage all those personalities, you can manage your team. You can manage your culture. When you allow a bottom tier player like Juan Thornhill do those things and stick around, that sends a real message about you and your team. And that's the kind of thing. If you're Antonio Brown, who's one of the top 10 receivers of the past 25 years, maybe top 5 realistically, it's like, yeah, you'll deal with that to a certain point. Then when it's not all working out, sure, you call it quits, you move on from him. That's fine. But the Steelers have no room for accepting a guy like Juan Thornhill going out there and jogging around and not being tough and just being a liability in coverage. So that's just something I wanted to touch on because again, you look at the state of the Steelers, who are a couple pieces and some modernizing away from being ultra relevant again, because they're always a good team, to the Browns, who have the smartest guys in the room and are supposed to be gurus and this and that, and have this expensive defense with all this talent. It's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because there's no standards and there's no culture. And this Juan Thornhill cutting just highlighted that to a serious degree. So thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to check out the Patreon. Tons of stuff going out on there. Support the page, support the channel, and we will see you in the next one this Sunday live following the Ravens and the Browns. Preview for that is live on Patreon now. Goodbye.